Now, I don't make a lot of response or commentary videos here on VINwiki, but I think today that is merited because the biggest news this week in the world of automotive YouTube is that Tyler Hoover, my good friend from Hoovy's Garage, has just sold his Bugatti Veyron to buy a 70-year-old Mercedes. Now, not just any old Mercedes, it is his lifelong dream car, a 1955 Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing that he got by working with my friend Matthew Ivanhoe, the cultivated collector, who's told a bunch of great stories here on VINwiki, and financing it through this month's sponsor, Premier Financial Services. And so he's also a client of Premier, was on the Bugatti and other cars prior to that. And so there is a lot to celebrate, but there's also a lot to dissect because on its face, this is a little bit of a reckless financial decision, not just because this Gullwing is, I guess now that Stradman has gotten rid of the Koenigsegg, it is the most expensive car bought and currently owned by an automotive YouTuber who made most of their money on YouTube. Certainly we've got a lot of these big car collector YouTubers that have incredible collections of cars that we could never dream of with this as our source of income. But this is a really, really big deal. And we're not unaccustomed to the idea that car YouTubers explore the journey to own their dream car. We saw Doug start Cars and Bids and ultimately take on an investment that allowed him to buy a Courier GT. We had Stradman going from living in an Audi TT, using YouTube as a means of income and a means of storytelling and documenting his journey all the way up to a Bugatti Veyron and a Koenigsegg Agera. Hopefully my story has resonated with someone. Certainly not all my cars came from that because I already had several of them with money from car sales and business before that, but just certainly the journey to the Bugatti was all YouTube. And we've seen Freddie Tavares buy all these cars, Matt Armstrong buy and build so many great cars, and that's all been so much fun. That's one of the reasons we do these VINwiki appraisal panel videos, is just to celebrate kind of that content journey that leads to these kinds of cars being acquired. And the Gullwing is obviously a stark contrast to the modern supercar, particularly as it's the immediate contrast in Tyler Hoover's decision-making life. Now, there will come a time, inevitably, when this deal is looked at a little bit negatively, not to the same extent as John Tamarian's grandfather trading his 250 GTO for a Lamborghini Miura so many years ago, but obviously the trajectory of values of a Veyron are going up. And generally, cars of the vintage of the Gullwing, the 300 SL, are going to stay relatively flat to head up, just really based on how the cars are used and how they're ultimately liquidated. And that really is where the expertise of Matthew Ivanhoe, the cultivated collector, was able to come in. He also facilitated Doug DeMuro's purchase of the Courier GT, my purchase of the Yakuza Diablo. And for him, I know it's so much fun to be able to join us in that consummation of this lifelong dream. And I hope you've watched Hoovy's video because it opens with just a beautiful tribute and kind of a look back on his journey from just seeing one for the first time at a Barrett-Jackson auction as a 17-year-old and thinking, man, if things go right in my life, maybe I've got a chance to own a car like that. And so to see that fulfilled, to me, is something worth celebrating, getting excited for, and definitely congratulating Tyler for. And, you know, it was interesting because when he bought the Bugatti, it was very clear, like, I want to have this halo-level car, but it was always, without apology, only until I can find the right deal for a Gullwing. And so a couple of months ago when he brought up the idea that he was probably kind of done with its story arc on his channel, I was like, man, I think it's time to really buckle down and find it. In fact, when he bought it in the first place, I was like, why didn't you just buy the car you actually wanted? Because beyond what he's talked about, I mean, I saw him do Mille Miglia with the Mercedes Classic Center in a 300 SL and just thought, man, that is the end-all be-all of automotive road trip dreams for Tyler Hoover. We came upon the 300 SL Rally when we were at Pikes Peak filming for Car Trek 6, and I got him a ride in a really amazingly patinaed and run down, but mechanically awesome Gullwing. I watched him the despair of seeing these alloy barn find cars selling for $10 million at the Rudy Klein auction, and him just realizing maybe this is just not going to work out for me. And so when all the pieces came together, the right car, the right financing, the right trade, everything, and he found this car, I couldn't have been any more excited. And honestly, it's been a few weeks since it all sort of came together. And I'm like, when are you going to tell everybody? Because I want to tell everybody, because I'm so happy for Tyler as my friend. Now, you know, the problem that we all run into is that our content styles lend themselves to different cars. And he's made it very clear, as has Stradman and everybody else, that like hoopty level cars do better on YouTube than us living out our dream car or hypercar dreams. And I get that. And certainly in our own content here at VINwiki, I can't make that many videos about any car. I mean, I think I've made 5 or 6 different Bugatti videos, and that's more than I've made about any car, except maybe the Chapo McLaren F1, if that ever comes to fruition. Got a good call on that this week, but you never think anything's gonna work out until you see a real picture. But, you know, to me, I think that all of us have to think about, well, what are we doing this for? We've all had the distinct pleasure, blessing, and opportunity to go pro in our favorite hobby of using, exploring, and going on a journey in cars. But does that really make sense from the content that we can create for it? Now, we use all the man math in the world to say, no, this absolutely makes sense. And fortunately, in most cases, with the right types of financing, the IRS will indulge us in that. But when we really look down on it and say, does this make sense? Sometimes it doesn't. And no, buying a 70-year-old Mercedes doesn't make sense for the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube. But the fact that it's truly the fulfillment of everything that Tyler Hoover has ever dreamt of justifies it beyond anything than burying a BMW in the backyard ever could. And so I'm excited to see how the audience responds. Again, please go over there, check out the content there, check out the content on Matthew Ivanhoe's The Cultivated Collector channel, and just celebrate it with me, because he deserves it, and it is a really, really exciting thing, and a much better justification for Tyler to have a giant payment each month to Premier Financial Services. Now, Matthew Ivanhoe did find for Tyler an extraordinary car. It's currently presented in very, very nice, unrestored silver over black. However, cosmetically it has been changed, like most Gullwings have over the years, because that was seen as the most desirable spec. But originally the car was a darker gray with a red interior, which is my favorite color combination of cars. And I cannot wait. I hope that he will put it back. He says it's too nice to immediately paint and redo, but I'm like, dude, you have to. I also am jealous of the fact that he's going to get to do so many different events in this car that are off the beaten path for car YouTubers in general. He'll go on the Colorado Grand or the California Mille, maybe over for the Mille Miglia. And those are things you can't do in a Bugatti. I've tried in most cases, or at least brought up the idea. And it is for cars of that vintage or even older and that significance. And I think those are the kind of adventures that nobody else in car YouTube is doing. And I don't even know if you guys would watch it if we tried. But I'm very excited to see Tyler get to live out those fantasies that really do transcend the nature and the idea of automotive content creation, because it is so well deserved now that he has found that dream car. And the coolest thing is that through his connections, because of making content alongside and with the Mercedes Classic Center out in Los Angeles, they are currently tearing the car down and going through a couple of things that it needs, because the car's barely been driven for the last decade. I mean, you'd call it a barn find or a garage find, but in reality, the condition is very good, but it does have to be woken up the right way mechanically, and there is no one better to do that than the Classic Center. And so I hope to do some more work alongside them for events and things like that, but I am truly so happy for my friend Tyler, and I cannot wait to see all the great adventures that he finally gets to take now that he finally owns the end-all be-all dream car of the Hoopty fleet. And of course, if you're looking for your dream car, I hope that you will check out Premier Financial Services. They're the sponsor of VINwiki content this month, and they have been for 8 years now. And I love them because I get to use them to buy the cars that I dream of. And their structure in their simple lease is what really makes it the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a normal car loan, like the ability to trade in and out, even if it's just after a few months with your Bugatti and into your dream 300 SL Gullwing. But you also know exactly what that payoff's going to look like, because they give you an amortization table with every quote, so you know every month what you're going to owe and pay it off whenever you want, so that you own the equity and you have the flexibility, while also getting the sales tax benefits and some of the other tax treatment benefits that a lease can have for small business owners. That's why we love Premier Financial Services, but they also give you, I guess, enough buying power to do some really, really crazy things, like buy a Gullwing.